Hello all. I hope you are watching this in good health and you are safe wherever you are. We'll start with this video, and this video includes a major topic, which is types of companies which can be formed or registered or incorporated under Indian Companies Act 2013 in India. We already discussed what is a company, the definition of company, and characteristics of a company. So I will not go into detail of that topic again. What we'll do is we'll start with types of companies, as this is important part of whole concept of Companies Act, or you can say corporate law. One thing which is implied or you should understand is company law or Companies Act 2013 is applicable on public companies. Actually, it is applicable on each and every kind of company formed in India, registered in India, but impliedly it is applicable specifically to public companies. Wherever there is some exception or a provision which is applicable to other companies also, that thing is specifically mentioned under the act. So whenever any provision, any section of this particular act is silent about what kind of company it is talking about, that section automatically applies to public company. This is a normal sense or a common sense how to read or go with the sections. Now we'll start with types of companies. I will try to make the video short so that you can go through it easily and it becomes easier for you to memorize these. After the video you can make your own notes which will be helpful to you. You can watch these videos whenever you feel like you have time to watch. So let's start with the topic types of companies. This is unit 1 of Companies Act. Okay, and this topic in this particular video we are going to talk about types of companies, association not for profit, and illegal association. So types of companies. See, types of companies under Companies Act is divided into various categories. In this particular topic we are going to divide them under 5 different categories. We'll cover each category one by one. Association for not for profit is also a company, and we will discuss it under one of these categories, but still I have mentioned it separately because it is a very different concept. And second and third is illegal association. Illegal association is not a company. You should make sure that you do not confuse yourself with whether illegal association is a company or not. It is not a company. Okay, that's why we have used the word association, not company. But provisions of this act which make an association illegal falls under this category of section or this particular series of sections. That's why we are going to discuss it right here. One more thing I want to clarify is that you people are not required to learn sections. I have mentioned definitions as per section in this video, but you are not required to learn sections. Don't go for sections, go for the concept. What type of company is, where you can find a company, like that, which that is more important than just learning and mugging up all the sections. Let's start. So first type of company is companies based on the basis of liability. Now again I want to make clear that liability is, we are talking about not about liability of company, we are talking about liability of members. And you know that members are shareholders of the company. So companies are divided into three categories, basically two categories, on the basis of liability of members, not of the company. Okay, don't confuse yourself whether we are talking about liability of members or liability of company. Categorization of companies on the basis of liability of members who constitute the company. So on this basis, company is divided into two categories, one is limited, other one is unlimited. And limited is of two types, and again unlimited does not have any further categorization. So it is of on the basis of liability, it is of two types, one is limited, other one is unlimited. Limited company means companies in which liability of members is limited. Again I'll repeat, liability on the limited company means companies in which liability of members is limited. Limited liability companies are further classified into three categories. First is company limited by share capital, company limited by guarantee, and last is company limited by share capital plus guarantee. And I'm really sorry for the handwriting. You already knew that my handwriting on even on whiteboard or blackboard is not so good, so please bear with that here also. Thanks. Now, so first we'll go with limited liability by shares. Limited liability by shares means a company in which liability of members is limited by shares held by them or purchased by them. For example, there is a company in which you have purchased shares worth rupees 100. Now your liability in that company is limited till the amount of rupees 100. Once you have paid this amount to company, there is nothing more for you to pay. Your liability ends there. That is, till the unpaid amount of share capital held by a person is his liability towards the company. Now see, section 22 of Companies Act 2013 defines that when liability of members of a company is limited by memorandum to the amount, if any, unpaid, this word is very important, it is unpaid, on shares held by them, it is known as company limited by shares. It thus implies that for meeting the debts of the company, the shareholder may be called upon to contribute only to the extent of the amount which remain unpaid on its shareholding. That remember that what example I have given you is, you purchase share worth rupees 100 and company can ask only rupees 100 from you. That's why it is written over here, the shareholder may be called upon to contribute only to the extent of the amount which remains unpaid. His separate property cannot be encompassed to meet the company's debt. That's why it is limited liability. If his separate property can be encompassed, then it will become unlimited liability. It may be worthwhile to know that though a shareholder is a co-owner of the company, he is not a co-owner of company's assets. This is the point where separate legal entity of the company comes into picture. Member is different, company is different. The ownership of the asset remain with the company because of its nature as a legal person. The extent of rights and duties of shareholders as co-owner is measured by shareholdings. Extent and right of duties, you know this. So rights are related with shareholding. A person whose shareholding is maximum will have greater rights than a person whose shareholding is less. Simple. We have heard things that that person holds 10% shares, that person holds 15% share. His voting rights are greater than other person because of share capital. So what amount you have contributed, what percentage of shares you have purchased in a company, that will give you voting power in that company. So in any company or every company which is limited by shares, voting power is decided by shareholdings. I will repeat, any company in which share capital is there, voting power is decided by shareholding. Voting power is decided by shares held by people. So if you hold 1% share capital, you have 1% voting power in that company. If you hold 37% share capital, you have 37% voting power. I think this is clear. Next is company limited by guarantee. Now company limited by guarantee is almost same as it is company with limited liability of members, but here the liability is limited by guarantee given by the members. That is, during formation of the company, members undertake or give guarantee of a particular amount, and what they undertake is, what guarantee they give is that they will contribute that amount during winding up of the company. That is, when company tries to wind up its affairs or end its business, that time if company needs any funds, any kind of money to settle its dues, in that time members will give that amount which they have given, which they have undertaken, or which they guaranteed to give at during formation of the company. So again it is a limited company. Why it is limited? Because members will give only limited amount what they guaranteed at the time of formation of the company. You cannot ask unlimited amount from such members also. Now, Section 221 of Companies Act 2013 defines it as company having liability of members limited by memorandum to such amount as members may respectively undertake by memorandum to contribute to assets of the company in the event of its being wound up. Important difference between both the companies right now is, in share company limited by share capital, members have to contribute to share capital during lifetime of the company or during its incorporation. But company limited by guarantee, members have to contribute only at the time of winding up, not before that. Thus, the liability of member of guarantee company is limited up to a stipulated amount mentioned in memorandum. Members cannot be called upon to contribute beyond that stipulated amount. The common features between a guarantee company and company having share capital are legal personality and limited liability. In latter case, the member liability is limited by amount remaining unpaid on shares which each members hold. Both have to state in their memorandum the member's liability is limited. This memorandum of association is a document for companies which they have to maintain compulsorily. Next chapter or maybe next to next topic we'll discuss what memorandum is and what are the various contents of memorandum. That time you will understand it more clearly. Right now you just imagine that memorandum is a document in which company has to file various details, has to write various details about itself. However, the point of distinction between these two type of companies is that in former case, member may be called upon to discharge their liability only after commencement of winding up. This formal case, this case is of company limited by guarantee, that once the winding up starts, member will be asked to discharge their liability or to contribute. and only subject to certain conditions. But in the latter case, that is of share capital, they may be called upon to do so at any time, either during company lifetime or during its winding up. It is clear from the definition of guarantee company that it does not raise its initial working funds from members. Therefore, such a company may be useful only where no working funds are needed, or where these funds can be held from other sources like endowment, fees, charges, donations. You may be now, as soon as you hear these words, fee, donation, charges, a basic type of business organization which comes to your mind is clubs. So there are various clubs which are formed in the form of company limited by guarantee, and these clubs, what they will do, they will start their business, members will come, members will join this club. What they will do, they will contribute, membership fee will be there, some charges will be there, the club will receive donations from various people, and these fees, these donation and charges will be used to carry out day to day affairs of the club. When club goes into liquidation or winding up, it will ask members or the person who formed this club to contribute the amount they have guaranteed earlier, because during winding up, every company needs to settle its account. A normal process during a winding up, what will happen during winding up, company will try to settle accounts by selling assets and paying off liabilities from the amount realized by selling of assets. So it's a very normal scenario that amount realized from selling of assets falls short of total amount of liabilities. What company will do in such a scenario? This company, company limited by guarantee, will ask its members to contribute this amount, which is a short, whatever gap is there, to contribute this amount, and members will contribute, and that in this manner they will settle the liabilities. Next is unlimited company, and as the name indicates, unlimited company is a company in which liability of members is unlimited, and you will not find these companies right now, because obviously if you form a company with unlimited liability, then it defeats the basic provision of formation of a corporate body, or the, you can say, the benefit of adoption of a corporate identity. Why anyone would like to form a corporate body with unlimited liability? It's of no use. Then he can go for sole proprietorship business. So what happens is, there are some provisions where a company goes into non-compliance of that provision, and due to that, penalties imposed on the company in a form of its conversion to unlimited company. For example, number of members, there is a limit on number of members for each kind of company. Sometimes what happens, number of members in a particular company falls below the minimum prescribed limit. In that case, if the default is not removed within a particular given time, let's say 6 months, then after 6 months that company converts into a company with unlimited liability. Now for that company, liability of remaining members becomes unlimited, and those members can be asked to pay more than what they have contributed, or more amount than what they have, for what amount they have purchased shares. So you cannot initially, the first step in itself, you cannot form an unlimited company in India. So the definition is, as per section 292 of Companies Act, define unlimited company as company not having any limit on liability of its members. In such a company, liability of member ceases when he ceases to be member. This we know. The liability of each member extends to whole amount of company debts and liabilities, but he will entitled to claim contribution from others. In case the company has share capital, The articles of association must state the amount of share capital and amount of each share. So long as the company is going concern, the liability on the share is only liability which can be enforced by the company. The creditor can institute proceedings for winding up of the company for their claims. The official liquidator may call the members of the contribution towards liabilities and debts of the company, which can be unlimited. During winding up, this we are talking, official liquidator will come in when winding up process starts, not before that. So during winding up, official liquidator can ask contribution from members, which can be unlimited, which can extend beyond their contributions or beyond amount which they have guaranteed to pay to the company. So first category of companies is over, that is company based on liability. Three types of companies we have done: company limited by shares, company limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. Company limited by shares and company limited by shares and company limited by guarantee falls under limited companies, and unlimited companies are different, altogether a different company. Next categorization is on the basis of members. First company is one person company, the most simplest type of company, and you can judge by the name of the company, the definition of the company. So a company which have a single person as member of a company, or which have only one member, is known as one person company. Section 262 of Companies Act define one person company as company which has only one person as member. Only one person as member. One person company has been introduced to encourage entrepreneurship and corporatization of business. OPC differs from sole proprietorship concern in an aspect that OPC is separate legal entity with limited liability of member, whereas in case of sole proprietorship the liability of owner is not restricted. Now there are various rules related to OPC, and definition is very easy, but at the same time there are certain things which we should know. See, first thing is, this one person who can form a company can only be a natural person. Artificial person cannot form a one person company. And you know what natural person, natural individual is a person who has taken natural birth like all of us. So only a natural person can form a one person company. Artificial person like company cannot form another OPC or one person company. And this natural person should also appoint his nominee. Nominee is also important. Why nominee is important? Nominee is important because it may happen that because of some event or because of some accident, this natural person becomes disqualified or is disqualified to be a member of the company. Maybe he becomes insolvent or he dies. In that case, to prevent the legal status of company or prevent the perpetual succession characteristic of the company, we need a person who will take place of this member, and that person is known as nominee. Next, according to section 3(1)(c) of Companies Act, OPC is a private limited company with minimum paid up share capital as prescribed and has at least one member. You should remember that it's a private limited company, it's not a public limited company. Only one person as member, minimum paid, there is no limit prescribed. You can start a OPC with 10,000 rupees, no issue in that. Memorandum of OPC shall indicate name of other person. This is the name of nominee I was talking about, who shall in the event of subscriber death or his incapacity to contract become member of the company. Other person whose name is given in memorandum shall give his prior written consent prescribed form, and same shall be filed with Register of Companies. Such other person may be given right to withdraw his consent, that nominee can withdraw his consent also. member of OPC may at any time change the same name of such other person by giving notice to company. You can change nominee. Any such change in name of person shall not be deemed to alteration of memorandum. This we will discuss later on. Only a natural person who is Indian citizen and resident in India, the person who has stayed in India for a period not less than 182 days during immediately preceding one calendar year, shall be eligible to incorporate OPC and shall become nominee of the OPC. I told you in previous slide that only a person who is a natural person and Indian citizen can form OPC. So a foreign citizen in India cannot form a OPC. And who is an Indian citizen? A person who stayed in India during previous calendar year. Calendar year is from January to December. It's not always, remember, we are not talking about financial year, we are talking about calendar year. So calendar year is from 1st January to 31st December. So a person who has stayed more than 182 days in previous year will become Indian citizen this year, Indian resident, and that person can form OPC. No person shall be eligible to incorporate more than one OPC. Or more than nominee in more than one company. It's very simple. Otherwise, people will form n number of OPCs in their own name. No minor shall become member or nominee of OPC and can hold share with beneficial interest, because minor is incompetent to contract as per section 11 of Indian Contract Act 1872. Such company cannot be incorporated or converted into company under section 8 of the act. Section 8 is not for profit organizations. We'll discuss them separately. In introductory slide we said that it's for not for profit. So OPC cannot be converted into company which is formed under section 8 or which is not for profit organization. However, it can be converted into private companies or to public companies. Such company cannot carry out non-banking financial investment activities. OPC can convert voluntarily into any kind of company unless 2 years have expired. Now this statement is very tricky. Unless 2 years have expired means a OPC once formed cannot convert itself in any other company before end of 2 years. After that, at the beginning of 3 years or even after that, it can do so. Before that, it cannot convert itself into any other company. Except, and there is exception to this rule, where paid up capital of the is increased beyond 50 lakh rupees or turnover exceed 2 crore rupees. Now, this is known as threshold limits for conversion. We'll take an example. See, you floated an OPC in the year 2020. 2 years will end at the end of year 2022. You cannot convert that OPC before the end of 2022 into a private company or a public company. That's what a normal provision is. But there is exception to this rule. There are some threshold limits which you even cannot cross in these 2 years. For example, let's say in September 2021, what happened? Turnover of your company, turnover is net sales. Turnover of your company increased to 2 crore rupees. Turnover of this company, which annual turnover we are talking about, not total. So annual turnover of year 2021 reached to 2 crore rupees or even crossed it. As a result, a threshold limit has been broken or breached. As a result of this breach of threshold limit, this company will automatically be converted into private company. So I think now this provision is clear. Voluntarily, you cannot convert an OPC into any other form of company before end of 2 years from its formation. But if you breach either of the two conditions, that is, paid up capital is increased beyond 50 lakhs or turnover exceeds 2 crore rupees, your company will automatically convert it into other kind of companies, maybe private, public, depending on your wish or depending on circumstances. Now I think it is clear. So you have to see both the things. Next is private company. Private company, you have, now this is most common type of, not most common but common type of companies you have seen. Any company with the word suffix or with the suffix private limited in its name is a private limited company, is a private company, let's say. And limited means, what does limited words indicate? Limited indicates that is the company whose, in which liability of members is limited. So what is a private company? Sorry, a private company, there is a huge definition for of private companies, and this definition contains 3 different clauses. We'll discuss each of the clause separately, and this also impliedly tells us what are the conditions which should be there in articles of association of a private company, or these 3 conditions, namely 1, 2 and 3 conditions, there are also restrictions imposed on a private company. So you can take this question in any way you want to take. These are restrictions on private company? Yes, they are. Is this the definition of private company? Yes, it is. So let's start the definition. Private company means a company having minimum paid share capital as may be prescribed, and by which articles, see, by which by its articles restrict the right of transfer its shares. That is, a member in private company, let's say member 1, cannot transfer its shares to member 2 or to anyone else in this world. Next, it is restricted, it is prohibited, means you cannot do this. And where this clause will be mentioned? This clause will be written in, is mentioned under articles of association of this company. Next is, except in case of OPC, it limits the number of members to 200. OPC is an exception in which maximum 1 person can act as member, but for private company the maximum number of members is 200, cannot be more than that, should not be more than that. And in these 200s you have to exclude these 2 people, that is, person who are in employment of the company and who, having been formally in employment of the company, were members of the company while in that employment and have continued to be members after employment ceased, shall not be included in number of members. These 2 people you have to exclude. Next, provided that where 2 or more persons hold 1 or more shares in company jointly, they shall for the purpose of this clause be treated as single member. So if member 1 and member 2 jointly purchased 7 shares of this company, you will consider them as a single member, not as 2 different members. And last restriction is, prohibit any invitation to public to subscribe for any securities of the company. That is, this company, private company, cannot go to public for issue of securities to public, because if you go to public for issue of securities or inviting public for subscription of securities, then it may happen that number of members is increased beyond 200. Second condition will cease to exist. Now, see, this is how, or these 2 conditions are interlinked. And because the access to public is not available to a private company, and that's why it's known as private company, otherwise it will become a public company. Now there are some significant points, you can take them as a revision. Private company, no minimum paid up capital requirement, minimum number of members is 2 and maximum is 200. Right to transfer of share restricted. Prohibition, invitation to subscribe for securities of public. A small company is a private company. Small company will discuss later on. OPC can be formed only as a private company. Always remember, OPC is a special type of private company in which only one member is there. And whenever you find a word OPC, a word OPC written after a company, name of a company, it says or it depicts that that company is an OPC. So you may find, let's say ABC Private Limited, a word name of the company will be like this, ABC Private Limited, and in that behind this word in bracket you will find OPC, one person company. So this bracket, words in bracket, or you may find it any other way, but then this indicates that OPC Private Limited is a private company which is formed as OPC, one person company. Next is a small company. A small company is also a private company which has a paid up capital of which does not exceed 50 lakh rupees or turnover does not exceed 2 crore rupees. That company is a small company. You have earlier read these limits under threshold limits of an OPC. So any private company whose paid up capital is less than 50 lakh rupees and turnover is 2 crore rupees, that company falls under category of a small company. If more than one member is there, then it is not an OPC, it is a small company. And now exception that this section is not applicable to a holding company or subsidiary company registered under section 8. So section 8 company cannot be a small company. Company or body corporate governed by a special act, for example LIC. A special act is there applicable to LIC, Life Insurance Corporation of India. It cannot be a small company. RBI is a statutory corporation. One act is applicable on RBI Act. So RBI cannot be a small company. And holding or subsidiary company, we will discuss later on, but you just remember that, you just listen that OPC and holding company and subsidiary company cannot be a small company. Significant points, the points for revision is small company is a private company, paid up capital not more than 50 lakh, turnover not more than 2 crores. Should not be a section 8 company, holding or subsidiary company. Next is public company. Now this is the most common type of company you will find. Any company, any business organization behind which name or in name of which you will find suffix limited, LIMITED or LTD dot, only LTD. I am not talking about private LTD, PVT LTD. I am talking about only LTD. If you find the suffix limited, then that organization is a company formed as public limited company under Companies Act. All the big corporate houses are formed in the form of public company. Very simple definition. Public company means a company which is not a private company. And you can write in private company that private company is a company which is not a public company. Okay. So let's, and second, has a minimum paid up capital, share capital, something is prescribed and that it should be there. Now, provided a company which is subsidiary of company not being private company shall be deemed to be public company for the purpose of this act. I will explain this point. See, ABC Limited is a public company. It is a subsidiary company. A private company is a subsidiary company of ABC Limited. Let's say XPVT Ltd. Now, this XPVT Ltd, in spite of being a private limited company, is or will be considered as a public limited company because it is subsidiary of a public limited company. Here it is written like this: subsidiary of a company not being a private company. Not being a private company means public company shall be deemed to be public company for the purpose of this act. Again, some significant points or revision points are there. It is not a private company. Shares freely transferable. No minimum paid up capital requirement. Minimum number of members is 7. Maximum numbers no limit, because shares are easily available to public. So there is no maximum limit for this kind of company. Subsidiary of public company is deemed to be a public company. This we have already discussed. A company may be formed for any lawful purpose by 7 or more members, where company to be formed is to be public company. So for public company, minimum number of members is 7, and for private company it was 2. For OPC it was 1. For public company, maximum number of members does not limit, that is unlimited members can be there. For private limited it was 200. For OPC it was again 1. Next is categorization of companies on the basis of control. On the basis of control, companies are divided into two categories: holding company and subsidiary company. One company will be a holding company, other company will be its subsidiary. Now, as name indicates, holding is a major company or a larger company than subsidiary company. There are two provisions, there are two conditions by which a company can become holding company of other company. What are these two provisions? First is that holding company holds more than 50% capital, 50% paid up capital of subsidiary company. Second is it controls majority of board of directors. So if any of the two conditions is satisfied, always remember any of the two conditions need not necessarily, you are not required to fulfill both the conditions at the same time. If any of the condition, either or any of the condition is fulfilled, a company will become holding of other company. So we'll go with the definition. See, holding and subsidiary companies are relative terms. A company is holding in which relation to one or more other companies means a company of which such companies are subsidiary companies. So a holding company is a holding of a subsidiary company. Subsidiary company in relation to any other company, that is holding company, means a company in which holding company. What is subsidiary company? Subsidiary company means a company in which holding company controls composition of board of directors, majority of board of directors written over here, and exercise control more than half of total share capital, either on its own or by more subsidiary companies. So either of the two way you will become holding company of some other companies, provided that such class or class of holding companies as prescribed shall not have layers of subsidiaries beyond such numbers as we prescribe. This we will discuss later on after 4-5 chapters. Now, for the purpose of this section, a company shall be deemed to be a subsidiary company of holding company even if the control referred to in subclause 1 or 2 is of another subsidiary company of holding company. Now, what does this first point indicates? Indicates maybe a holding company as a subsidiary company S1, and this subsidiary company is holding company of S2. So automatically this S2 will become subsidiary of holding company H. The composition of company board of directors shall be deemed to be controlled by another company if that other company by access of some power accessible by discretion can appoint or remove all or majority of directors. How you will decide that a particular company has power or control composition of board of directors? Only by that company has power to remove or appoint directors in that company. That's what control of composition of board of directors means, na? Next, the expression company includes any body corporate, that's we know, and layer in relation to holding company means subsidiary or subsidiaries. A private company which is subsidiary of public company shall be deemed to be a public company for purpose of this act. This we just did in previous topic. Where such subsidiary company continues to be a private company in its articles. Next is associate company. It's like subsidiary company but not exactly the subsidiary company. So in relation to another company means a company which is in that other company has a significant influence. Now you have to read what significant influence is. Significant influence is when one company controlled at least 20% of total voting power or control or business decision of other company. So maybe H Limited holds 25% capital of AC Limited. Now this AC Limited not subsidiary of H Limited because it is not 50% or more than 50%. Then what relation does they have? AC Limited associate company of holding company because of H Limited, because H Limited holds more than 25% voting power in this company, and holding of more than 25% control means significant influence. That is, H Limited have significant influence on AC Limited or associate company. Next, joint venture. You know what the meaning of joint venture: when two or more companies come together to form a business or carry on a business. And the term total share capital means paid up equity share capital and convertible preference share capital. Non-convertible preference share capital will not be included under total paid up capital, share capital. Next, on the basis of access to capital, there are only two types of companies. One is listed, other one is unlisted. Listed company is a company which is listed on any of the stock exchanges, recognized stock exchange we are talking about, and there are two national stock exchange recognized, you know them, BSE right now not doing so good but still trying to hold on the market. NSE and BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. So any company, whether private or public, if listed on NSE or BSE, will become listed company. Why it is categorized on basis of access to capital? Access to capital means capital is easily accessible to these companies. They can sell their shares through Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange. Unlisted company means company which is other than listed company. Simple, a company which is not listed is unlisted. Other companies one is government company. Government company is any company in which 51% of the paid up share capital is held by government, central government, state government or governments or central government, and partly by one or more state government, and its section includes company which is subsidiary company of such government company. So in government company, always remember more than 51% of share capital is held by central government, state government or central government with combination of other institutions. Foreign company means a company, body corporate incorporated outside India which has a place of business in India, whether by itself or through an agent, or conducts any business activity in India. If both of these conditions are satisfied, then a company will become foreign company. And it's important that and why we are including foreign companies, so that act become applicable on this and we can push them for compliances. Next is formation of companies with charitable objects. Section 8. I think we should end this topic right now, this video right now, because otherwise it will be too lengthy for you to cover it at once. So as you can see, there are 23-24 slides. We'll rest the topic right now for today. Till this section 8 company, we have discussed around 5-6 companies. Go through them, try to search their examples online. Go to Google, search unlimited company in India, limited company in India, public limited company in India, private limited in India, government companies in India, like that, and you will find examples of companies which are working as such companies in India. So it will give you a better understanding of the topic. Government company you will easily find, foreign company you will easily find, listed unlisted company you will find, associate company, holding subsidiary companies, public small company, OPC, and or do one thing. Comment on this video name of various types of companies you have found online. Let's see who can find all of these. We'll end the topic right now. We'll give a break, then we'll resume this in next video. Try to, if and I will share these PPTs with you in some time, so that you can go through them. If you don't want to make your own notes, then just go through PPTs. You can take printouts and read through them. Okay, so we'll wrap up right now. We'll meet you in next videos. Stay happy, stay blessed, keep rocking. Good evening.